Hello to everyone. I'm here to talk about the very important solos in flamenco. And I started off with the introduction of one of the most important pieces, I think, within flamenco, which is La Rondeña of Ramon Montoya. It's more than 100 years old. Why did I choose this? First of all, I would like to clear that the flamenco guitar and classical guitar, actually, there was no difference in the 19th century. The guitar as itself, the instrument, didn't have any quality. They were out of tune, they didn't have a lot of volume, so for concert it wasn't interesting for composers to compose for. Later on it didn't sound good. So the guitar was used in bars and restaurants and cafes to just accompany singers, and they used the rajeo and things of the pulgar just to accompany the singers. Then finally Antonio de Torres, luthier from Almeria, invented the first guitars that are really, really good. They had a good quality of sound, the tuning was correct. So from that moment, the composers were interested also to compose for guitar players. And there was this separation of the flamenco guitar and the classical guitar. Classical guitar started introducing new techniques, arpeggio, picado, all kinds of techniques to develop the instrument as a solo instrument. Ramon Montoya, 50 years later, by the way, played on the guitar of Antonio de Torres, La Leona, very famous guitar. It's still played on. Actually, they recorded a record on the La Leona. You heard these compositions, Ramon Montoya heard these compositions, especially of Tárrega. He heard these harmonics, he heard new tunings, he heard the new techniques, and he started to introduce them. And the Rondeña is a good example of that. If you hear the work of Tárrega, you can really clearly hear the influence of Tárrega on Ramon Montoya. Ramon Montoya really helped the guitar to develop as a flamenco solo instrument as well, which was not common yet. Still, a lot of years would go over that started really to work as a flamenco solo instrument. Sabicas also played solo, but actually also Mr. Sabicas had to leave Spain to really be able to play solo. He lived in New York, he was very famous in America, and there he gives concert, but in Spain it was still complicated. Until Paco Lucia in his record Fuente y Cadal introduced at the end of the recording, they still needed a theme, an extra theme. They said, well, I'll play something, and he recorded Entre dos Aguas. Entre dos Aguas, it's a rumba, which is also not a very common style in flamenco. It's a very popular style, and everyone connects a rumba with flamenco, but it's not really. Until then, it was not really common to play rumba in flamenco. It turned out to be a big hit in Spain. It was played in discotheques and people were dancing on it. It was played on the radio. It enabled Paco de Lucia, first of all, to get famous and therefore get concerts. But also it enabled him financially to really dedicate his career to flamenco solo guitar, to create his solos, to compose, to record records only dedicated to his own development, which we know now that Paco Lucia also changed the flamenco completely. No, I think those two pieces were really, really important in the history of flamenco. Maybe two of the most important solo pieces. There are other guitar players that created amazing solos, like Vicente Amigo when his first record came out, De Mi Corazón al Aire, which also changed completely the flamenco. Manuel Sanlúcar with his record Tauromagia, he changed the flamenco. But as a solo piece, I think these two are really, really key in the history of flamenco. There are records that also changed the flamenco, like the two I mentioned. I could also add Noche de Maniluna, the Guitarists, and all the records of Paco Lucia. Every time he recorded, he changed the flamenco again. So those are too many records to remember. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment, and I'll see you on Online Flamenco Academy. In the Online Flamenco Academy, you will find a community of people and teachers willing to generously share their knowledge, so you can learn in the best possible way. In the Academy, you will find material created by me and some of my top-level colleagues. Together we have created a curriculum for you to follow and become a qualified flamenco guitarist in the fastest and most efficient way possible. You will learn to master all the styles and techniques, as well as some of the skills that would normally require you to travel to Spain and pay us a visit. The videos are of high quality, with close-ups and tablature available for each lesson. In case you don't speak Spanish, don't worry, because all the material is professionally subtitled. You will also have access to our dynamic community of flamenco guitarists and friends, with whom you will be able to connect and share your progress. Click on the link in the description for more information.